What's the deal, YouTube? It's your boy Tank B Choppin, and I'm coming at y'all with another haircut tutorial. So we're gonna do on this cut right here, we're gonna do a number 3 on top. We're gonna taper them up and we're gonna add some enhancements for that hairline. Let's go. Alright, so as you can see, I got my number 3 guard on my cordless and its masters. I'm just going over the top, getting all that hair off. You know, I've been favoring these masters for a good amount of time already. So as you can see, I'm using that fade brush to brush the hair away. And I'm just trying to get all that hair off, so I'm going against the grain and across the grain to make sure I get all that hair down even. Doing the same thing to the sides. I'm taking all that hair down. So now that that's done, we're going to start our initial guideline using what I'm using right here is my Babyliss Gold FX, or my custom FX. And remember guys, when I do my tapers, 9 times out of 10 I do them with this little semicircle put in for the beginning of my taper. Reason being is I like to keep that little C cup dark. Only time I will not do this is if the client doesn't like it or doesn't want it. So since I already have my trimmers in hand, I'm actually going ahead and lining them up behind the ear. And this isn't a must, I just do this now because I had the trimmers in my hand. So next step, I'm taking my Babyliss Shaver and I'm just knocking off all that excess hair at the bottom, getting it down to the skin. And now we're gonna start the actual fading techniques. Alright, so I got my clippers open. And as you can see, I'm coming up about 3/4 of an inch, and I'm still keeping that semicircle shape going when I'm fading this haircut in. And as you can see, I'm using the corners of the blade, that way I don't take off too much hair or go too high. And then I'm gonna close my lever halfway, and I'm coming right below what I just did, and I'm closing it all the way, and I'm tapping that bottom guideline. As you can see, most of it has disappeared, but I'm still going to do a little bit of detail work at the end of the cut. So now I got my number 1 guard on there, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm coming up in the same shape, flicking out slightly. So now I got my number 1 guard closed, and I'm coming up right below what I just did. And for the most part, that should start taking out that bottom guideline. If it's still there at the end of this step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my my 1/16 guard, and I'm going to adjust my lever as needed to take out that line. Yep, and that's what I'm doing right here. My 1/16 or my 0 guard, and I'm tapping that bottom guideline. Alright, so now I got my number 2 guard on there. I got it all the way open, and I'm coming up some more. I'm getting behind the ear, cleaning off all that excess bulk. So as you can see, I'm just adjusting my lever and trying to get rid of them dark spots. Alright, now I got my number 1 guard on there again, and I'm doing some detail work. And I always tend to do this, you know, once I'm actually done with my initial steps, I come backwards and work my way down to try to make sure I get all them dark spots off and try to make sure that fade just looks good. Here's my 0 guard or my 1/16, and I'm just adjusting that lever as needed. using the corner and the edges of that blade. Now I'm just taking out that bottom ball of the guideline. And now I'm starting my C-cup. So as you can see, I just make a nice little guideline, and I just use that, and I'm just curving the clipper to give a nice, just a nice little curve. Doing this isn't the easiest thing to do, so sometimes it takes you a while to do it. I know some barbers, they do like one tap and then like it's already looking curved. Me, it takes me a little while, but I get it done. So you do what you gotta do to make sure that line looks nice and you get that curve looking good. Alright, so now as you can see, as I'm starting on the front of his edge up, I started in the middle of his head, made an initial guideline, and I'm just working my way over. And I'm using that brush to brush down the hair. I know what you can do is also you can have some spritz, spray the spritz in there and comb the hair down. That way all them excess hairs just lay down, and you can just knock them out easier that way. I didn't have them at this time, that's why I didn't do it that way, but still getting it done. You want to make sure you give these guys a nice straight edge up. A lot of times, I'm not saying the fade don't matter, but sometimes the edge up is just as important, if not more important. Alright, so now I'm finna use some enhancements. And I just spray on a little bit at a time. I use that card to make sure it's pushed up against his hairline. That way he gets a nice straight line. As you can see, you can put some on, and if you need more, you can always add more. Alright, so now that that's done, what I'm doing is I'm just going back and I'm just adding some small detail work. I want to make sure that fade looks nice and blurry, so I'm hitting it up one more time just to make it look a little nicer. Just try to take this fade to the next level and really make that fade pop. Alright, so what I did to that side, I'm doing to this side, so I'm doing the same exact thing. So I did speed up the video, obviously. And I'm just doing what I does. So if y'all can do me a big favor and please like this video. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do that. I've been dropping content, weekly content. I try to do it more than once a week. Sometimes I just get busy doing other stuff. And then right now with us not working in the shop, being quarantined or whatever, we just been doing stuff around the house. So I really ain't been able to record these voiceovers. But I'm getting to it today. Hopefully I got a couple new videos for y'all to be basically to be dropping soon. So yeah, y'all make sure and subscribe if you haven't done that. If you have any questions about what I'm doing, what clippers I use, the guards, anything about barbering, feel free to drop them in the comment section. I try to respond to everybody. Y'all make sure to follow me on Instagram at tank_b_choppin. And y'all also make sure to follow Smooth Hair Care. I hope y'all can follow along pretty easy with what I'm doing. Like I said, it's basically the same thing I did on the other side. It may be a little differently due to hair texture and hair density on this side of the head, but it's basically the same thing. I follow those same steps for almost every haircut. Alright, so now you can see I'm starting on the other side of his edge up, and I just started in the middle where I made my initial guideline, and I just worked my way over. Taking off a little bit at a time. Making sure that that hairline is nice and straight. Got to make that look crisp. y'all probably thinking like, dang, what is this dude tapping? He's hitting the same spot over and over. But I do that because I don't want to take off too much at once. So I just barely tap it. I look in the mirror and I tap it again if needed. But yeah, now I'm adding the hair enhancement to the other side of his haircut, adding it to the top of his hairline. And this is just really just enhancing that line that he's got. You know, he had a little bit of light spots, so I wanted to darken them up. Alright, so now we're working on the back taper. And I'm doing the same thing. As you can see, I still got the back, the semicircle going in there. Taking off all that hair. Knocking it down with the shaver, getting it down to the skin. And then we're going to taper it up with the same steps that we use on both sides of the taper. Starting off with my clipper open, coming up about an inch. Most of the time I come up a little more in the back just because I want to see that fade look good. You know, a lot of people, they're scared to come up on back tapers, and I just like mine to stand out a little more, so I do come up a little higher in the back most of the time. So this is my number 1 guard. Clipper open, and then I'm gonna adjust my lever closed to try to get out that bottom line. And if it doesn't come out, I'm gonna use the 1/16 guard or the 0 guard. Remember guys, the 1/16 and the 0 guard is the same thing. Here is my number 2 guard open, and I'm trying to clean off all that bulk that I see right there. Trying to just take that off and make this fade pop at the end of this haircut. And as you can see, the fade's coming along pretty good. I still got some detail work to do. That's why you see me with my number 1 guard on there again. I'm just doing some detail work using the corners of my blade, flicking out, not applying as much pressure towards the top of that fade, just so it can start to fade in a little nicer. You can spend as much time as you want detailing. I like to say it's all in the details. Alright, so now that part of the haircut's done, we're going on to the razor edge up, and we're just going over the same exact thing we did with the trimmers. I got the shaving cream on it, and I'm using that to help shave, and I'm just taking off all that excess hair. So that's really gonna make these lines pop out a little more. And as you can see, when I'm taking off the shaving cream, I'm just patting it. Reason being is I don't want to rub the shaving cream off, because it might take off some of the hair enhancement. And even though the hair enhancement does last, a couple days, if you like scrub it or if you rub it pretty rough, it will start to come off. So that's what I was trying to, basically I was trying not to do that. That's why I was doing it that way. So the hair enhancement does last, like I said, a few days. It doesn't wash out right away. But if I put it on and then you would put water on it, it will come out. So you have to let it dry a little bit. But after that, like after this haircut, if he went home and showered, as long as he didn't like actually scrub the hairline too hard, for the most part it's gonna stay in. I mean, obviously it's gonna get lighter the more you wash your hair, but it stays a good amount of time. But yeah, man, this is basically what I do. Try to ice boys out, try to get in that blurry fade, try to hook these boys up. Y'all let me know what y'all think of these cuts. Y'all let me know what y'all think of these tutorials. I hope some of y'all are watching this and taking this information valuable. Y'all let me know what y'all think of these haircuts, man. So here's the final cut. We gave him a number 3 on top, gave him a taper fade, and then we hit him with the hair enhancements. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Let's check that fade out. Yeah. If you haven't done so, please like this video. Make sure you comment if you have any questions or concerns in the comment section. And if you ain't done so, make sure you subscribe. I appreciate it, YouTube. Until next time.